1460 WVOX.
Stay tuned now for the Racing for Heroes radio show with host Brett Morash on 1460 WVOX.
All right, Racing for Heroes fans, welcome back. It is February 12th, 2021. We are here at WVOX, 1460 AM dial, worldwide at WVOX.com. We have a couple great guests today. Our first one, though, is Adam Benaway, a Sergeant First Class in the United States Army stationed down at Fort Bragg, and race car driver and longtime friend of Racing for Heroes. Adam, are you on the line?
Hey, good morning, Brett. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful on this rainy day in North Carolina.
Well, it's super cold in New York. I think I would rather have your weather right now.
It's cold and rainy, so I don't know.
Gotcha. And so, Adam, let's just jump right in. So, what do you do in the United States Army?
So currently, right now, I'm a psychological operations NCO, Sergeant First Class. Been in psychological operations for about 8 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, I was a reconnaissance scout.
Oh, wow.
Here at Fort Bragg. Been at Fort Bragg my entire 18-year career so far. And it's looking like I'm probably going to retire out of here as well.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. And now you're airborne qualified and all that, right? I'm assuming that being at Bragg that long.
Oh, yeah. Airborne. I got about 75 jumps. Been to jump master school, airborne, sniper.
Oh, wow.
A couple of schools.
That's a lot of training Uncle Sam's put into you, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And Adam, so tell us about what is psychological operations? I think it sounds like something out of the 60s, but I know it's not, having worked with you guys before.
So yeah, it's definitely evolved to more informing populations outside the U.S., whether it may be something like weather evacuation route in a country that's very prone to hurricanes or whatever. We may inform those populations, and along the way, medical sites, like if we're doing a med cap or something like that. If natural disasters come through and people are out of food, we show them the food resupply areas, and also other things that may be a little more combat related, like
Sure.
how to report, suspicious terrorist activities. We try and be a voice for the population in that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, because I worked with when I was at Joint Task Force Horn of Africa. For those of you who don't know, that's in the near Somalia is sort of where our focus area was. The psychological ops team was just great because they would create leaflets and all sorts of other informational things that were really kind of helping us engage with the people there. I mean, everything from like when we were drilling water wells to just talking to people in IDP camps. So I think that what you guys do is amazing and is a misunderstood part of the U.S. military.
Yeah, and we're definitely evolving with like new technology, going away from the leaflets to the social media aspect. We're going down the tech rabbit hole in our new and innovative ways of reaching the people.
But I think that's important because I mean, even ISIS has a Facebook page, right? I mean, at the end of the day.
Absolutely, and if there's a void in that area of communication, social media being one of them, then essentially the enemy is going to fill that void.
Yep, that's for sure. So anyway, so thank you for what you do, and if I'm not mistaken, you guys are nested in Special Operations Command, right? Where?
Yeah, we fall under the USOC Special Operations Command. We're one of the 3 tribes that do ourselves, CA, and the Green Berets.
Gotcha. So let's shift gears here. And I know that you're a race car driver, but you won 2 national competitions with SCCA. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so autocross is basically a test of your car control skill on a course with just you in the car. 1,400 people go out to Lincoln, Nebraska every year.
Oh, wow.
It keeps growing and growing. And I won a back-to-back national championship in a spec class with the SCCA, Sports Car Club of America.
Mm-hmm.
I did it 1 year. People were like, "Hey, who the heck is this guy?" Because I had just gotten back from a deployment.
Yeah.
I hadn't really been on the national scene at all, just kind of doing local events. Raised a lot of questions. People called my bluff, and then I did it again the following year.
Guess they won't
then,
do that. Make that mistake again.
No, and then I guess it took two for them to say, well, I guess this guy can drive. Okay.
Now, what were you driving though? When they say spec car, what does that mean to our listeners?
So it's basically a car with all the same exact modifications. In this spec class, it was the Subaru BRZ or Scion FRS, two-door sports car.
Oh,
Not
cool.
a lot of horsepower. It was just, here's your tool. Do the best thing you can with this tool. It doesn't have to be the fastest because you're racing against all of the other same cars.
And it's all technique, right? I mean, at the end of the day, right?
Absolutely. You can fiddle with the suspension a little bit, but you're not getting much out of it. And it's just who can make a scalpel out of a butter knife, basically.
Well, I had a chance to go with Ricky Henson this past week down at VIR on the slalom course. I took me with my kids. And, it was amazing to me, like, even I learned something about how to do the slalom, where I've been driving, almost 35 years now. And, Ricky taught me stuff that I'm like, oh, I never thought of it that way. But just even like coming out of a turn and then allowing the car to kind of flatten out, then continuing a turn like in the slalom, that sort of stuff, like when you think about how the car actually works is important.
Right. And, in autocross, it's a roughly an 80-second course, and there's probably about 24 of those elements like a slalom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's people who calculated down to for every foot off you're a cone, that's a tenth of a second.
Oh, wow.
And in a spec class where some people may be, within hundredths of a second, you're not a foot, or if you're a foot further away from that cone, you could have potentially lost the championship because of that.
Yeah, and I don't think everyone realized that. I mean, that's how tight these competitions are. So, good on you, man. Like, that's amazing.
Right. And like there were 70 cars in our class, and the top, that was kind of funny because second through 20th was within a 1.3 second margin. And then why I shocked everyone so much is because I was 1.3 seconds ahead of second place.
That's amazing.
But that just showed how close 20-some cars can be running the same exact course.
Yep.
With 20 different drivers.
No, that's incredible. I mean, and I would even say that it sounds like that was a pretty big margin at the end of the day.
That's exactly what made a lot of people question it, assuming I cheated. And I can honorably say I did not.
Yeah.
But I think people who look back and reviewed and saw the videos and stuff, they're like, he just put together potentially a perfect run or a very close to perfect run.
Yeah, that's amazing. And but you're doing different type of racing now as well, right? You shifted over to I think Legends, right?
I have. I've always been trying to be diverse in my driving, from the autocross to I did the stage rally last year.
Mm-hmm.
We do the endurance racing with the RFH program.
Yep.
And dirt track, I live 5 miles away. It's every weekend the family can come out to it, so it's definitely a new challenge in my racing experience.
Mm-hmm.
And the people are great, the support's great, family friendly.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not traveling 2 or 3 hours every weekend, and it's right in my backyard.
Are you making your kids as the pit crew?
I make them help me out in my garage.
That's good.
All the races are won in the garage. At the track, you either have your car ready or you don't.
Well, because we took, I clipped your picture from your Facebook post you probably saw, and I put it on Race for Heroes' website, or rather our Facebook page. But it's a 69 car, right?
It is. That's just been kind of my number that I ran, so it stuck with me.
No, that's great. That's great. And then how does that work though? What if another 69 car shows up? Do you fight it out and somebody has to put like the letter B or something after it, or how does that work?
I believe the kind of home track guy probably gets priority due to the home track promoters.
Sure.
But in dirt track racing, they'll do that. They'll either throw initial before it or after it, just to clear up the the confusion if there are two number 69s, and it has happened.
Yeah, for sure. No, but it's a beautiful car. I mean, it's got like the 6 and the 9 have like an American flag kind of motif colors, and the car's white itself. So I think that people will be looking for you this year.
Yeah, it's definitely a work in progress, and I'm looking forward to getting the full-blown Racing for Heroes livery all over the car.
Yeah, because it's all you're also doing, I think, Cracking Skulls, right? They're out there.
Yep, they're a veteran. All my sponsors on there are actually veterans or veteran-owned businesses.
Great.
So that's one thing I do, and I didn't want to put too much emphasis on how the car looked, being this is my first season. I've only done 6 races, with the expectation that I was probably going to beat the body up a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
So
how's it been so far?
Great. I've done 7 races. I've had 1 break on the track, a little bit of contact, broke a tie rod. And it's a steep learning curve, not only from the road racing autocross to dirt track, but then to the legend cars, because they're not designed to go around the track like Mike's late model or all those other cars that are just sideways the whole corner. They're a very finicky car. And like before, it's also a spec car, like the cars I raced before. So everyone's on the same tire, same engine, really about as close as you can get to everyone running identical cars.
Gotcha. And are you at least getting in the kind of top third of the racing, or where are you right now?
We have a really tough class, I will say that, in North Carolina. The crowd here can go to dirt nationals every year, and we have top 10 finishers.
Oh, wow.
Some of them being actual veterans. But I am, now that we're all on the same tire in this new spec series, we're all within a second of qualifying. And it's just seat time and learning setup and what to do with the car when the track does this. So it's definitely a steep learning curve. I feel like the ability's there. I just got to refine my knowledge of the cars. And
Adam, before I let you go, if anyone wants to follow you and what you're up to, where do they go?
I'm pretty active on the Racing for Heroes social media, but it's just a.benaway racing on Facebook, Instagram. And then, of course, all the Racing for Heroes events and the outreach programs we do. I try and really highlight the Racing for Heroes segment of my racing.
Yeah, and you were fantastic when we had charity laps back in December. So I want to publicly thank you for all of your efforts, because it really helps us get everything done that we need to. So thank you, Adam.
I appreciate it, and it's definitely a team effort.
You bet. And Adam, so thank you very much for being on the show. I wish you all of luck. And I know you're sort of at the tail end of your military career, and looking forward to kind of next steps for you in the future.
Yes, sir. And you keep warm up there in New York.
Roger that. All right. Thanks again, Adam. Everyone, we're so excited. Adam has just been great. And, please follow him on racing at a.benaway racing out there on Facebook and Instagram. Our next guest, though, is Matthew Ryba. Matt is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran, having served in both Iraq and Afghanistan, and in the Philippines. So he's just been a little bit of everything. And I can't read his entire bio because we don't have enough time on the radio for that. But Matt is currently the Director of Community Outreach and Education for the New York Presbyterian Military Family Wellness Center at Columbia University, Irving Medical Center, and Weill Cornell Medicine. So I know that's a lot, but Matt really is out there helping veterans every day living with PTSD and other comorbid conditions. Matt, are you on the line?
I'm on the line, Brett. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Semper Fi. Welcome here.
Semper Fi. Thank you.
Well, I had to throw that out there. Being the Marines are part of the Navy team here, at least.
Yeah, we get that a lot.
Occasionally. I always, whenever I had a brief Marines, when I was still in uniform, I would always start off with, "I recognize we abandoned you guys at Guadalcanal. It won't happen again. Let's just get past it so we can move on." Because they bring it up if you don't get out in front of it. So, but you're working for Yuval Neria, who is a pretty storied guy himself. At New York State Psychological Institute, which is sort of the short version of what I just read. Tell us about what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dr. Neria, he is a psychologist, researcher, and actually a Medal of Valor winner for the IDF, Israeli Defense Force. And I'm on his team working basically, we've got all kinds of different PTSD research that we're doing. We also have a free clinic for military veterans, for active duty, and for military family members who are struggling with PTSD, depression, anxiety through New York Presbyterian. But a lot of testing new modalities of therapy. We had a really interesting equine therapy for PTSD study that we just concluded recently. We actually published a paper last week, became available, tracking the neural changes in the brain after therapy with horses, with retired racehorses, actually. I know this is a racing show. It's a different kind of racing.
That's right. It is different kind of racing, but racing nonetheless. So
yeah, we found, really great results, especially with the dropout rates. It turns out with some of these newer therapy, prolonged exposure therapy, having to relive your traumas is not always favorable to the veterans. And we find that some of these other kind of alternative therapies are very successful with keeping them in treatment and actually helping them get better. So that's one of the big milestones that we've had recently was that new publication. And we're just helping veterans on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, but don't you find that's true though, that there's lots of different modalities and ways to help veterans, and it's sort of you have to find what works for you as the individual.
It's exactly what it is. I mean, there's no golden ticket when it comes to trying to heal from psychological wounds of war.
There
are certain therapies that have a good rating, but even the best therapies work 50% of the time. And it's really, it's very important to note that things like PTSD, depression, anxiety, you can heal from these. They are curable. It's just a matter of finding the right therapy that works for you as an individual in order to help you overcome what you're dealing with.
Right. And because I know that we had a conversation earlier this week about even like how Race of Heroes uses motorsports, and we consider it therapy. And, we're trying to lean into that to see if that's a researchable issue as well. But can you tell us a little bit about equine therapy? Because, I've seen a lot about it in my career working in the veteran nonprofit space, but how does it kind of work? What's the basic idea?
So the idea behind equine therapy is that horses are prey animals, right? They're not aggressive. They tend to run away if there's danger. And what happens is they mirror emotions of the person that's dealing with the horse. So if you are walking up to a horse and you're kind of skittish and afraid, the horse is going to be skittish and afraid. And what happens is over a course of, I think we did 8 sessions in our study, but over a course of these sessions, we'll have 4 or 5 veterans in a session. They learn how to groom the horse, how to lead walk the horse. And basically it's a kind of like looking in a mirror of your own expressions. You realize kind of how you're reacting to things, the vibe that you're giving off, if you will. And it really helps you kind of get in tune with your own emotions and figure out what you're dealing with. So we found that in addition to a very, very low dropout rate, which is amazing, we had like 95% completers, and the ones that didn't complete, they had reasons because they had to move to another state to take care of a sick parent or something like that. Where typically you see a very high dropout rate and more regular therapies. But in addition to that, we found that it's a very good stepping stone to get people into a more traditional therapy. If you're kind of skittish about talking to a psychologist, people have this idea of this Freudian lay on a couch and talk about my problems, thing about mental health. If you're out in the wilderness and you're with a horse and you're in nature and all of a sudden the sun's shining and you're having a good time, you're like, hey, this isn't so bad and I'm actually feeling a lot better. Maybe I will try the other stuff and that can help me feel better too.
No, and I appreciate that perspective because I feel that things like even like veteran yoga or some of these other sorts of things, like equine therapy, it's sort of that entry drug, if you will, into getting people to kind of get past their fear of like the white coat syndrome and actually going to seek professional help, for for therapy with like a counselor or a psychologist.
Precisely. It's a big step in overcoming a stigma, right? There's still a lot of stigma around mental health. And especially when you're dealing with military populations, you don't want to be perceived as being weak or needing help or anything like that. But if you can wash away that stigma and actually get down to it, you have a much better chance of healing your wounds.
Gotcha. And what other studies have you guys done recently that, I think might be of interest to the community?
So I have an ongoing series at the Intrepid Sea and Space Museum. We have a quarterly educational series where we have guest speakers, lecturers, We talked about topics of military mental health, just things military related to mental health, all different categories. We actually have a online webinar coming up in March, on March 12th, that's going to be focused around military families and, the whole COVID epidemic, dealing with having the kids at home 24/7 and having to work from home and, we're based in New York City, so living in a New York apartment with a full family for onwards of a year now can kind of wear down on you. So we're going to have a program focused around that. We also do an insomnia sleep group at Columbia University. And then our regular clinic is just open to any military veterans, active duty, Guard, Reserve, and military family members. And that's anybody struggling with depression or anxiety or having trouble kind of getting back into society after leaving the service with that transfer. Any of those issues, you can come see us and we'll take good care of you.
And how do I get involved with that if I'm interested, if I'm a veteran out there listening?
The best way to contact us is probably through our website. You can go to www.nyp.org/MFWC. That's Military Family Wellness Center. And you can just search us online. Search Columbia Veteran Center online and we'll pop up. We've got information on all of our studies that we're doing. We've got information on the clinic, and you can find me on the staff page and contact me directly.
I got you. Okay. And so that's www.nyp.org/MFWC.
Correct.
All right. Gotcha. And I'll put that on our website too and out on our social media, because I think that that's an important thing that veterans really need to be hearing about, and that there's other supports out there that are that might be what you need. So
exactly. Happy to help.
So, we didn't talk about your military career first. I saw you were 10 years in the Marine Corps, which is a long time. And you retired. I'm sorry, you got out as a staff NCO. Were you staff sergeant or?
I was a sergeant. I was an E5.
Sergeant.
I had a break in service. There was 2 active duty enlistments with a break for 2 years reserve in between.
Oh, gotcha. Gotcha.
My time reset on the second enlistment.
Gotcha. And you were a tow missile operator, is what I read in there.
That's correct. Yeah, I was by trade. I was an anti-tank missileman. That was my specialty, operating tow missile system. I never actually used a tow missile system in combat, though. It's kind of an interesting flip into the traditional, fight the Russians tank warfare that I was trained in. To fighting in urban environments out in the desert. So mostly a trigger puller for my active career, but still have a lot of tank knowledge rolling around in my head.
Oh yeah, no, I would hope so. I hope so. I've always felt that the tow missile guys, I always thought that was one of the coolest systems ever as a kid, and I always wish they have it in the Navy. But like you pointed out to me on the phone, it runs wire out the back of it while it's flying, and
right.
If it hit the ocean, obviously would have a problem. But that's so cool.
There's good stuff. I was fortunate enough to actually fire 3 missiles in training.
Oh, that's cool.
I did get a couple of stripes that way, and it's very exhilarating. I mean, it's like a very expensive piece of equipment.
Sure.
You're really paying for that bang. Apologize for that, taxpayers. But no, it's a really awesome weapon.
It is. And, it's been around since the 60s. So it's gone through a lot of iterations, but it's still the same kind of thing. But, so cool. And listen, we're kind of getting to the end of our show. I knew we talked about, it is a racing show. We have to have some sort of car story. So what is your vehicle story?
I got a good one for you. When I was deployed to the Philippines back in 2002, this was for Joint Task Force 510. It was actually a hostage rescue mission.
Oh, wow.
It was kind of dubbed as like rebuilding the Philippines mission, putting in new roads. But we had a group of Seabees with us there, these 30 Seabees. These roads were so bad. I was blowing out tires on the Humvee every other day. I think our record in a single day was we had 16 tires in our vehicle crew that we had blown out. And I was on this one patrol heading around. We called it the Around the World Tour, where we drive the entirety of Basilan Island, visit all of our different checkpoints across the island. And I was about 20 minutes in as the rear vehicle, and my back tire blows out. But we don't have any spares left. Luckily, I was close to the checkpoint where the airfield was, so I radioed ahead and said, "Hey guys, we're not going to be able to make this the last truck, in front of us. Go ahead and spin around. You got rear security. I'm going to hump my truck back to try to get this tire replaced." And there was this CB mechanic, this grease monkey named Jinx, and I'll never forget it.
Jinx.
He was just welding stuff and MacGyvering things together. He didn't have any tires for the Humvee, but he had a tire for like a 4x4 Toyota pickup.
Oh.
And he had built this ridiculous kind of transfer module where you could bolt it into, you know, the wheel well of the Humvee, and then on the other side have the Toyota tire. And you know, he Frankenstein my truck back together with this thing, and he goes, you know, you're not going to make it far, but your camp is only about 20 miles down the road. I think you'll make it 20 miles. You know, good luck, and don't go over 20 miles an hour. So we, you know, humped it back. It took us about an hour to get back to 20 miles, but we made it back in one piece. And it just always blew my mind that this guy was able to take a bunch of Navy garbage and put something together and fix the truck.
Behold, the power of the CBs. So
there you go.
I think that's the way to really describe that. That's so amazing of a story. And so thank you for sharing that. And I really appreciate the industrious nature of enlisted people in the U.S. military to come up with solutions when no real solution is to be had. So, you know, good on him. Good on Jinx. So I'm going to put that under the universe. I hope he's having a great day today, too. So anyway, but Matt, listen, thank you for being on the show. And before I let you go, one more time, what's your website?
Yep, you can visit us at nyp.org/MFWC.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much, Matt. And thank you very much, Racing for Heroes fans. We will be back again next week at the same time, 11 o'clock next Friday. So looking forward to talking to you all again. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.